Dissection forms the foundation of clinical and surgical procedures, and the present tutorial is aimed at illustrating clinical anatomy of limbs, including demonstrations of muscles, blood and nerve supply to the structures of the limbs. Both forelimbs and hind limbs support the body when at rest and in driving it forward when in motion. First, we learn about the anatomy of forelimb, describing the muscles, courses of the major vessels, and the nerves. A sound knowledge of the same is required for the direct surgical access to a bone or joint for clinical intervention. Muscles of forelimb can be divided into two groups, extrinsic and intrinsic muscles. The extrinsic muscles attach the limb to the axial skeleton. All these extrinsic muscles are paired in nature. The extrinsic muscles must be severed to remove the thoracic limb from the trunk. In ruminants, they include 7 muscles: trapezius, rhomboideus, brachiocephalicus, homotransversatus, latissimus dorsi, pectorals, and serratus ventralis muscle. The trapezius and brachiocephalicus muscles are immediately visible when the skin of the neck region is removed and the superficial fascia is cleaned. The trapezius muscle is a flat, thin triangular muscle. The base of the triangle lies towards the vertebral column along the dorsal border of the scapula and caudal cervical region. The apex courses distally on the lateral surface of the scapula and inserts by an aponeurosis on the spine of the scapula. The trapezius muscle has cervical and thoracic parts. It originates from the funicular part of the ligamentum nuchae and the supraspinous ligament on the cervical and thoracic region, and inserts at the spine of the scapula by a flat aponeurosis. This muscle elevates the shoulder when acts as a whole. The cervical part draws the shoulder upwards and forwards, while the thoracic part draws it upwards. The rhomboideus muscle is located deep to the trapezius muscle, and in ruminants it has 2 parts, cervical and thoracic. The cervical part, that is rhomboideus cervicis, originates from the funicular part of the nuchal ligament that spans the distance between the cervical vertebra 2 to the thoracic vertebra 2, while the rhomboideus thoracis originates from the thoracic spines. The muscle inserts at dorsal and medial borders of the scapular cartilage. It draws the scapula dorsally. The hump present in some of the breeds of cattle is an enlargement of the rhomboideus muscle. A hump is present in Bos indicus and Bos taurus indicus. The brachiocephalic muscle is a compound muscle that extends craniodorsally from the distal cranial surface of the humerus to the dorsal lateral surface of the skull. In ruminants, it has 3 parts: the cleidobrachialis, cleido-occipitalis, and cleidomastoideus muscles. The cleido-occipitalis and cleidomastoideus forms the cleidocephalicus muscle. The cleidomastoideus forms the dorsal boundary of the external jugular groove through which the external jugular vein and carotid artery passes. This muscle extends the shoulder joint and advances the whole limb when in motion. When both left and right brachiocephalicus muscles contract, they pull the head ventrally. The homotransversatus muscle is a flat strap-like muscle that extends between the spine of the scapula and atlas, the first cervical vertebra. It is a flat strap-like muscle The caudal portion of this muscle is viewed close to the cranial border of scapula between the cervical part of the trapezius and the cleido-occipitalis muscles. The cranial part of the omotransversus is covered by cleido-occipitalis muscle. It bends the neck laterally. The latissimus dorsi is a large triangular muscle that lies dorsally caudal to the scapula and courses cranially medial to the proximal part of the humerus. The muscle originates from the thoracolumbar fascia on the dorsal midline of the thorax and lumbar region. It inserts at teres major tuberosity on the proximal medial surface of the humerus in conjunction with the teres major muscle. Depending on whether the forelimb is free or fixed, that is weight bearing, the latissimus dorsi muscle flexes the shoulder joint and draws the trunk forward respectively. The pectoral muscles are powerful muscles that extend between the sternum and the humerus. They are divisible into two layers, that is superficial and deep. The superficial pectoral muscle covers the most proximal regions of the deep pectoral muscle. The actions of the superficial pectoral muscles include the limb adduction when not bearing weight or prevention of limb adduction when the weight is placed on the body. One of the most important functions of the pectoral muscles is to suspend and support the weight of the body between the limbs. The deep pectoral is a large mass which extends from the sternum forwards and upwards to the cranial surface of the humerus. It adducts and draws limb caudally when the limb is free to swing. The deep pectoral advances the trunk when the limb is advanced and fixed. The serratus ventralis muscle is a fan-shaped muscle located deep to the scapula. The left and right muscles act as a sling system to carry the weight of the body between the limbs. The thoracic limb covers much of the serratus ventralis muscle except for the cranial and caudal parts. The cervical part draws the scapula cranially when the limb swings caudally. The thoracic part does the opposite when the limb is advanced cranially. The left and right muscles act as sling system to support the trunk. Now we will discuss about the intrinsic muscles of the thoracic limb. These are the muscles that arise and insert on the thoracic limb. These muscles are responsible for the movement of different parts of the limb together with the joints and ligaments. The intrinsic muscles can be grouped into muscles of shoulder, muscles of arm or brachium, muscles of forearm or antebrachium, and the muscles of manus. The muscles of shoulder take their origin from the scapula and end on the humerus. They either flex or extend or act as a ligament to brace this hinge joint. The muscles can be grouped as medial and lateral groups. The lateral shoulder muscle includes supraspinatus, infraspinatus, deltoideus and teres minor, while the medial shoulder muscles include subscapularis, coracobrachialis and teres major muscles. Coming on the lateral side of the shoulder region, supraspinatus muscle fills the supraspinous fossa of the scapula, beyond which it extends cranially, and this muscle extends and stabilizes the shoulder joint. The infraspinatus muscle lies in the infraspinous fossa and extends caudally beyond it. It arises from the infraspinous fossa and the scapular spine and passes over the lateral aspect of the shoulder joint, where it becomes a strong tendon. It rotates the scapula outward. The deltoideus muscle is a flat muscle which lies directly under the skin, extends between the scapula and the deltoid tuberosity of the humerus. It has two heads, one arising from the spine of the scapula, pars scapularis, and other from the acromion process, pars acromialis. Both the pars insert at deltoid tuberosity of the humerus. It is a flexor of the shoulder joint and abductor of the upper arm. The teres minor muscle is a small muscle lies deep to the deltoideus and infraspinatus muscles. It flexes the shoulder joint, abducts the arm and rotates it outwards. Coming to the medial side of the shoulder region, subscapularis is a flat extensive muscle which occupies subscapular fossa, presents three fleshy parts. It originates at the subscapular fossa, inserts deep to the coracobrachialis on the medial tuberosity of the humerus. It acts as a medial collateral ligament of the shoulder joint. The coracobrachialis is a flat muscle lying on the medial face of the shoulder joint and the arm. It originates at the coracoid process of the scapula, inserts on the medial surface of the humerus, and draws the arm inward and outward. The teres major muscle is a long flat muscle which arises from the caudal angle and margin of the scapula and terminates on the medial tuberosity of the humerus. It is flexor of the shoulder joint and helps in the abduction of the arm. Coming to the muscles of the arm region, the muscles of the arm region are placed around the humerus and both arise from the scapula or humerus and insert on the ulna or radius. These are primarily responsible for flexion or extension of the elbow joint but also stabilize the limb during the locomotion. The muscles of the arm region are biceps brachii, triceps brachii, tensor fascia antebrachii, brachialis, and anconeus. Biceps brachii is a strong muscle situated on the anterior face of the humerus, passing obliquely downward and inward. It originates from tuber scapulae. It is bifid at its insertions on the radial tuberosity and on the proximal end of the ulna. It flexes the elbow joint and extends the shoulder joint. It also stabilizes the shoulder joint during sliding locomotion. Triceps brachii is powerful and large muscle that occupies the triangle between the caudal border of the scapula, the humerus, and olecranon process of ulna. This muscle possesses three heads of origin: long head, lateral head, and medial head. The long head is the largest and the longest of the three heads, which originates from the deltoid tuberosity of humerus and the tricipital line extending from the deltoid tuberosity to the neck of the humerus. It inserts on the lateral surface of the olecranon. It acts as extensor of the elbow joint. The medial head is the smallest of the three heads, which originates close to the teres tuberosity and inserts on the medial aspect of the olecranon. It acts as extensor of the elbow joint. The lateral head originates from deltoid tuberosity of humerus and the tricipital line extending from deltoid tuberosity to the neck of humerus and inserts on the lateral surface of the olecranon. The tensor fascia antebrachii is a flat, long, narrow muscle lying on the medial surface of the long head of triceps. It originates at the caudal border of scapula and inserts on the tendon of long head. The brachialis is a curved muscle, winds over the lateral surface of the musculospiral groove of the humerus, finally reach to the medial side. It acts as a flexor of the elbow joint. The anconeus is a short but strong muscle situated on the brim of olecranon fossa and covered by triceps brachii muscle. It acts as an extensor of the elbow joint. Coming to the muscles of the forearm and manus region, these muscles have long extended muscle bellies and they act either as flexors or extensors. The extensors are located on the craniolateral side while the flexors occupy the posterior medial aspect. The extensors arise from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus while the flexors from the medial epicondyle. The extensor muscles are the extensor carpi radialis, medial digital extensor, common digital extensor, lateral digital extensor, and extensor carpi obliquus, while the flexor muscles include the pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, flexor carpi ulnaris, ulnaris lateralis, superficial digital flexor, and the deep digital flexor. Coming to the extensor muscles of the forearm and manus, the extensor carpi radialis is the largest of the extensor muscles of the forearm. It lies over the dorsal face of the radius, extending from the lower end of the humerus to end of the large metacarpal bone. It arises from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus and inserts on the proximal extremity of the second and third metacarpal bone. The common digital extensor is a powerful muscle with several tendinous intersections which lies lateral to the radial extensor muscle of the carpus. It extends the carpal and digital joints. The lateral digital extensor is a muscle with single belly situated on the lateral surface of the forearm, caudal to the common digital extensor. It arises from the lateral collateral ligament of the elbow joint and lateral epicondyle of humerus and inserts on the dorsolateral aspect of the middle phalanx. It extends the carpal, fetlock, and pastern joints. The extensor carpi obliquus, also known as abductor pollicis longus, is a thin flat muscle, lies deep to other extensors and runs in oblique direction across the dorsal surface of the carpus. It originates in the distal half of the radius, craniolateral edge of the ulna, and inserts at medial-palmar surface of the proximal extremity of large metacarpal bone. It extends the carpal joints. The flexors of the forearm and manus are situated on the caudo-medial aspect of the forearm and flex the carpus, digits, or both, and can be grouped into two layers, that is superficial and deep. The superficial layers include pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, flexor carpi ulnaris, and ulnaris lateralis, while the deep layer includes superficial digital flexor and the deep digital flexor. Pronator teres is a small, feeble, and rudimentary muscle extending between the medial epicondyle to the cranial medial side of the radius. The flexor carpi radialis lies on the medial side of the forearm, caudal to the border of radius. It arises from the medial epicondyle of the humerus, passes over the carpus where it is enclosed in a synovial sheath. It inserts on a tubercle on the posterior medial part of the upper extremity of the large metacarpal bone. It acts as flexor of the carpal joint and extensor of the elbow joint. The flexor carpi ulnaris is a wide muscle situated behind the flexor carpi radialis and covers the medial surface of the forearm. Both the heads end with a common tendon of insertion on the accessory carpal bone. It is a flexor of carpus and extends the elbow. The ulnaris lateralis muscle originates from the lateral epicondyle of humerus and inserts at accessory carpal bone and proximal end of the metacarpal bone. It acts to flex the carpal joint. In the deep layer, we have two muscles, superficial digital flexor and the deep digital flexor. The superficial digital flexor is a large flat muscle that arises from the medial epicondyle of the humerus and divides into a branch for each of the functional digit that inserts on the middle phalanx of their digits. At the lower third of the forearm, it divides into two parts, superficial and deep. The tendon of superficial one passes over the carpal canal and is provided with a synovial sheath below the level of the accessory carpal. The tendon of deep part also passes through the carpal canal in company with the deep flexor. It inserts at upper extremity of middle phalanx. It flexes the digits and carpus and extends the elbow. It also stabilizes the fetlock joint. The deep digital flexor muscle is the largest of the flexors. It arises with three heads: humeral head, radial head, and the ulnar head. The humeral head originates from the medial epicondyle of the humerus. Radial head is the deepest that arises from the radius at its proximal half, and ulnar head is the most superficial and arises from olecranon. The tendon of each head fuse at distal end of the forearm to form deep digital flexor tendon. The deep digital flexor tendon passes through the carpal canal. It divides above the fetlock into two divisions for each of the functional digits. The two divisions of the deep digital flexor tendon inserts at the volar surfaces of the distal phalanges of the two digits. It flexes the carpus and digits and extends the elbow. Now let's learn about the blood supply of the forelimb. The forelimb of the domestic animals receives blood supply from the axillary artery, which is a direct continuation of the subclavian artery outside the thorax. It has numerous branches. We'll learn one by one. The external thoracic artery is a large vessel from the ventral face of the axillary artery, which supplies to the pectoral muscle and the brachiocephalicus muscle. The supraescapular artery dips between the supraspinatus and subscapularis muscles in company with supraescapular nerve and divides to supply supraspinatus, subscapularis, brachiocephalicus and deep pectoral muscles. Subscapular artery is a very large branch that ascends in the space between the teres major and subscapularis. It gives off three named branches: the posterior circumflex artery of humerus, which ramifies on the deep face of deltoideus and also supplies to the teres minor, triceps, brachialis and anconeus, and extensor carpi radialis and cutaneous branch to the skin. The thoracodorsal artery supplies to latissimus dorsi muscle and the axillary lymph node. The circumflex artery of scapula supplies to the subscapularis and the infraspinatus muscles. The continuation of the axillary artery in the arm region after the subscapularis is given off is termed as brachial artery, which gives off several named branches. The first one is anterior circumflex artery of the humerus that supplies to the coracobrachialis and biceps brachii muscles, as well as medial aspect of the shoulder joint. The deep brachial artery supplies to the triceps brachii and anastomoses with the collateral ulnar artery. The collateral ulnar artery arises from the posterior face of the brachial artery and supplies to the long head of the triceps, anconeus, flexor carpi ulnaris and superficial flexor of the digits. The transverse cubital or collateral radial artery leaves the brachial artery on the flexor surface of the elbow joint, passes between the elbow joint and biceps brachii and brachialis, divides into proximal and distal branches, supplies to coracobrachialis, brachialis, brachiocephalicus and the pectorals. Frequently, the branches arise separately, then the proximal branch is termed as bicipital artery and the distal as such is known as transverse cubital artery. The bicipital artery supplies to the extensor carpi radialis, biceps brachialis and brachiocephalicus muscles, and the distal branch supplies to extensor carpi radialis, common digital extensor and lateral digital extensors. Common introosseous artery is the last branch of the brachial artery distal to the elbow joint at the level of introosseous space, supplies to deep digital flexor and ulnaris lateralis. It finally reaches digits as lateral volar artery close to the proximal interosseous space of forearm. The common interosseous divides into cranial interosseous artery and caudal interosseous artery. The cranial interosseous artery divides into dorsal and palmar branches. The dorsal branch contributes to the dorsal carpal rete, while the palmar branch ramifies on the palmar aspect and contributes to the formation of deep palmar arch. The caudal interosseous artery is very slender branch supplying to superficial digital flexor and the deep digital flexors. The median artery is the distal continuation of the brachial artery following the origin of common interosseous artery. It gives collateral to the biceps brachii, pronator teres, brachialis and extensor carpi radialis. In ox, the radial artery leaves the median artery near the middle of the forearm and extends distally along the medial palmar aspect of the carpus, contributing to the formation of dorsal carpal rete. It continues in the form of medial palmar arteries in the metacarpal region and further divides into medial and lateral palmar digital arteries above metacarpophalangeal joint. The branches of digital arteries distal to metacarpophalangeal joint are symmetrical, and the two arteries form the terminal arch in the third phalanx. The median artery courses over the palmar surface of the medial branches of the flexor tendons before diving into the interdigital space, where it is termed as palmar common digital artery 3, and within the space it gives off a number of branches of minor importance before dividing into the two axial palmar digital arteries. Within the bone, the axial and avaxial arteries anastomose to form a terminal arch. There are two clinical important sites. One is the site of arterial blood collection. Arterial blood can be collected from the axillary artery, where it winds around the cranial border of the first rib. The pulse of the brachial artery can be recorded on the medial aspect of the elbow joint, and digital pulse can be palpated at the abaxial aspect of the proximal sesamoid bone. Let's learn about the nerve supply to the forelimb. The forelimb is innervated by a network of nerves called the brachial plexus. The brachial plexus in domestic animals consists of ventral rami of cervical nerves, 6th, 7th and 8th, and thoracic spinal nerves, 1st and 2nd. These nerves are referred as the roots of the brachial plexus. Fibers from multiple nerves coalesce to form the named branches of the plexus and pass into the thoracic limb along the constant roots. There are 12 named branches of the brachial plexus. They are external thoracic nerve, thoracodorsal nerve, long thoracic nerve, nerve to pectorals, nerve to teres major, suprascapular nerve, subscapular nerve, axillary nerve, ulnar nerve, musculocutaneous nerve, median nerve and the radial nerve. Nerves that supply the extrinsic muscles include nerves to pectorals. Cranial pectoral nerve supplies to superficial pectoral muscles. Caudal pectoral nerves supplies to the deep and ascending pectoral muscles. Then thoracodorsal nerve, which innervates to latissimus dorsi. Lateral thoracic nerve innervating cutaneous trunci and cutaneous omobrachialis muscles. Long thoracic nerve innervating to serratus ventralis thoracis muscle. Suprascapular nerve is formed by contribution from cervical 6th and 7th and innervates the suprascapular and subscapular muscles. The subscapular nerve is formed by the contributions from the C6 and C7 and innervates the suprascapular and subscapular muscle. There is a separate nerve which innervates to the teres major. Axillary nerve is formed by the contributions from the cervical spinal nerve 7th and 8th. It dives between the teres major and subscapularis muscles to reach to lateral surface of the shoulder, inserts the deltoideus, teres major, teres minor, and provides sensory cutaneous innervations to arm and forearm region. The musculocutaneous branch innervates the biceps brachii, coracobrachialis, brachialis. They gives off median cutaneous antebrachial nerve, supplying craniomedial aspect of the forearm. The ulnar nerve runs from medial side of the forearm with median and musculocutaneous nerve. At elbow, it separates from rest of the nerves to reach the caudal aspect of the forearm, innervates to some caudomedial forearm muscles, muscles of manus, and also provides sensory branches to caudal forearm and palmar manus region. Just above the carpus, it divides into superficial, continues as anterior lateral abaxial digital nerve, and deep branch which descends along the carpus, gives few fibers to the suspensory ligament, joins with a branch of median nerve, and continues as posterior lateral abaxial digital nerve. The median nerve continues on medial side of the forearm to divide into medial and lateral palmar nerves just proximal to carpus. It provides motor supply to some caudomedial forearm muscles, muscles of manus along with ulnar nerve, and sensory to palmar surface of the manus. It finally divides into lateral and medial branches. Each of them divides into axial and abaxial digital nerves. The abaxial nerve joins with the branch of ulnar nerve and continues downward as posterior lateral abaxial digital nerve. Both the axial of the median and the lateral branches of the median unite to form single trunk which continues downwards as posterior common axial digital nerve. The radial nerve supplies to the extensors of the elbow, carpus, and digits. Extending from the brachial plexus into triceps brachii muscle, it then passes around the caudal aspect of the humerus to reach to the lateral side of the arm. It branches into superficial and deep branches to the forearm. The superficial branch of the radial nerve supplies to the skin of craniolateral forearm in all the domestic animals. It is sensory to the dorsal surface of the manus in all except the horse. The deep branch passes between the brachialis and extensor carpi radialis and innervates all the extensor muscles ulnaris lateralis of the forearm. The superficial trunk joins the branch of median nerve above the carpus, reaches the middle of the metacarpus, and finally divides to form anterior common digital nerve and anterior medial abaxial digital nerve. There are certain clinical conditions which are associated with problems in the nerve supply to the forelimb. The first and important being Sweeney or shoulder slip is a condition seen in horses due to the injury of suprascapular nerve, which results in rapid atrophy of supraspinatus and infraspinatus muscles, which produces a prominent scapular spine. Before atrophy, the shoulder is unstable and slips laterally, appearing to be dislocated. Ulnar or median nerve damage has little clinical manifestation due to the overlap of their motor innervations. The radial nerve paralysis is the most common and clinically significant nerve problem of thoracic limb. It occurs due to trauma. Clinical manifestation varies with the location of the injury. The high radial nerve paralysis occurs when the injury is proximal to the area where the nerve innervates the triceps brachii muscle, and this results in an inability to extend the elbow, thus inability to bear the weight of the limb. The low radial nerve paralysis occurs when the injury to the nerve is distal to the triceps innervation, thus weight can be borne on the limb, extensors of the carpus and digits are affected, and clinically it is being manifested as knuckling over, dragging the dorsum of the foot on the ground. Brachial plexus avulsions results from the damage of many nerves of the limb, resulting in a flaccid limb that is dragged by the animal clinically. The penniculus trunci response is contraction of cutaneous trunci muscle in response to pinprick. A positive penniculus response indicates the spinal cord is intact from roughly the level of the stimulus to the cervical area, and a negative response may indicate the level of the spinal cord damage.
To watch more educational videos on veterinary and animal sciences, subscribe the channel and please touch the bell icon. Guru Angad Dev Veterinary and Animal Sciences University, Ludhiana on YouTube.